Book 1, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT. Stop letting distorted thoughts control you. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT. Transform your thinking patterns. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Wayne Dyer, author and spiritual teacher. Understanding automatic thoughts. Right now, you may find yourself in a loop, replaying mistakes, predicting disasters, or telling yourself you're not enough. Maybe you think it's too late to change, or that you're too much for the people around you. Here's the truth. Those aren't facts. They're patterns. And you can interrupt, challenge, and rewire patterns. That's exactly what cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, does. It doesn't ask you to think positive or ignore reality. Instead, it teaches you to identify distorted thoughts, test whether they're accurate, and replace them with thinking that actually serves you. The CBT model: thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. CBT targets the connection between your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. When you change how you interpret a situation, your feelings shift, and so do your actions. When we're anxious or overwhelmed, we tend to think in extremes, all or nothing, black and white. Overgeneralize from one unpleasant experience. I always mess up. Focus on only the negative while ignoring the positive. CBT helps you spot these distortions in real time, challenge them with evidence, build healthier, more balanced thinking patterns. Unlike traditional therapy, CBT isn't just talking. It's structured, skills-based, and action-oriented. You'll learn concrete techniques like thought tracking, catching negative patterns before they spiral, behavioral experiments, testing anxious predictions to see if they're true, cognitive restructuring, rewiring automatic thoughts into realistic ones, exposure work, confronting situations you've been avoiding. The result? You boost your self-awareness, regulate your emotions more effectively, and break free from thinking that keeps you stuck. Your brain can change. CBT works because of neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new neural pathways. Every time you challenge a distorted thought and replace it with a balanced one, you're literally rewiring your brain. The more you practice, the more automatic these healthier patterns become. Picture yourself rehearsing a new commute to work. At first, it feels unfamiliar, then it becomes automatic. CBT uses that same mechanism. Tools like journaling amplify this process. Putting negative thoughts in writing decreases their intensity. Reviewing them later reveals patterns you'd otherwise miss. Recording new realistic thoughts strengthens the neural pathways that support them. Over time, your default response shifts from "I can't do this" to "This is hard, but I can handle it." Your 4-week CBT roadmap. Before we dive in, here's the path we'll walk together. Week 1. Identify your thought patterns. You'll learn to observe your thoughts without judgment and spot the distortions that fuel anxiety and depression, catastrophizing, black and white thinking, overgeneralizing, and more. By the end of week 1, you'll recognize unhelpful patterns the moment they appear. Week 2. Challenge and reframe. You'll practice techniques to test whether your thoughts are accurate and replace distorted thinking with balanced, evidence-based alternatives. By the end of week 2, you'll have tools to dispute anxious predictions and self-critical beliefs. Week 3. Take action and experiment. You'll put your new thinking into practice through behavioral experiments, small, real-world tests that prove change is possible. By the end of week 3, you'll have concrete proof that challenging your thoughts changes how you feel and act. Week 4. Build lasting habits. You'll integrate everything into daily routines and create a personalized toolkit you can return to whenever stress or negativity threatens to take over. By the end of week 4, you'll have a system that works, one that you can use for the rest of your life. What you'll get in every chapter. Each week includes step-by-step exercises you can complete in 10 to 15 minutes. Real-life examples showing how these techniques work in practice, thought records and worksheets to track your progress, quick reference guides for when you need a tool immediately. You'll gain access to free extra CBT exercises using downloadable materials. Consider them your go-to source for mental exercises, always there for more practice or deeper dives. Getting started with CBT. Your decision to read this shows your desire for change. You don't need to wait until you feel motivated or confident. Change doesn't happen because you feel ready. It happens because you start. Each exercise you complete strengthens your ability to face challenges, regulate emotions, and trust yourself. The skills you'll learn here don't just reduce symptoms, they build lasting resilience. So, turn the page, pick up your pen. Let's begin. You're not broken. You're not too late. You're not too much. You're ready. Week 1. Understanding your thoughts. Researchers have shown that the way we think about events determines how we feel. Aaron T. Beck, MD, founder of Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. Identifying your thought patterns. Right now, your mind is sending commentary you don't even realize you're hearing. Quick judgments, old assumptions, automatic conclusions. These thoughts race ahead of you, shaping your emotions and reactions long before you consciously weigh in. Most of this happens on autopilot. And when those automatic thoughts are negative or distorted, they hijack your mood, your decisions, and your sense of what's possible. This week isn't about silencing your mind or forcing it to think positive. It's about slowing down enough to see what's happening inside your head so you can finally respond with intention instead of habit. Week 1 Learning Objectives. How your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors interact, and why understanding this connection is the foundation of change. The 10 cognitive distortions that fuel anxiety, depression, and self-doubt, and how to spot them. Why your brain defaults to negative patterns, and how awareness interrupts the autopilot. Practical exercises to catch your automatic thoughts before they spiral into emotions and behaviors you didn't choose. By the end of this chapter, you'll recognize unhelpful thought patterns the moment they appear and have the tools to step out of autopilot. How the CBT model works. Psychiatrist Aaron Beck discovered that people with depression shared specific thinking patterns. These patterns weren't random. They were predictable, distorted, and could be changed. Beck's model has 3 parts: thoughts, emotions, behaviors. Thoughts. Your brain constantly interprets the world. It happens so automatically that you don't notice. Most of the time, this serves you. If a stranger walks toward you with a weapon, your brain instantly interprets danger, and that keeps you safe. But sometimes your brain overestimates threats. You interpret a colleague's silence as rejection or assume you'll fail before you even start. People with anxiety and depression often make these assumptions without evidence and treat them as facts. Emotions. Your emotions follow your thoughts. Imagine a stranger walking toward you on the street. Thought 1. This person looks lost. Maybe they need directions. Emotion. Friendly. Open. Thought 2. Why is this person walking toward me? Something feels off. Emotion. Nervous. Guarded. Same situation, different thoughts, different feelings. Behaviors. After your brain interprets a situation, thought, and generates an emotion, you act. That's your behavior. Example. Helpful pattern. Thought. The road looks busy. I should check for cars. Emotion. Caution. Behavior. Stop, look both ways, cross safely. Example. Unhelpful pattern. Connor hasn't heard from his friend in a few days. Thought. He thinks I'm boring and weird. Emotion. Hurt, sad. Behavior. Avoids calling, withdraws from other people too. In Connor's case, the thought created an emotion that drove avoidance. Over time, this reinforces the belief that he's unwanted, even though he has no evidence. Understanding automatic thinking. Your brain has one primary job: keep you safe. When it detects a threat, real or perceived, your nervous system kicks into survival mode. Your body floods with stress hormones, your heart rate increases, and you're prepared to act fast. This system kept your ancestors alive. The problem? Your brain doesn't distinguish between a physical threat, a car speeding toward you, and a social threat, your boss's critical email. It responds to both with the same alarm system. When this system stays activated too long, you get stuck in survival mode. For some people, this means constant anxiety and hypervigilance. For others, it shows up as emotional numbness, fatigue, or feeling disconnected. Neither is your fault. Both are your nervous system trying to protect you. With repetition, these survival responses become habits, automatic patterns your brain runs without conscious oversight. That's helpful when you're driving or brushing your teeth, but when your autopilot involves avoidance, self-criticism, or shutting down, it keeps you stuck. The good news? Awareness breaks autopilot. Building thought awareness. You can't change a pattern you don't notice. Awareness means bringing your attention to the present moment, noticing what's happening in your body and mind without immediately reacting. When you build awareness, you recognize when thoughts are spiraling into autopilot patterns, step out of reactive mode, and reconnect with the present. Create space to respond intentionally instead of automatically. Interrupt the thought, emotion, behavior cycle before it completes. Think of awareness as the pause button between trigger and reaction. It gives you a choice. The 10 common cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are patterns of thinking that twist reality. They're common to everyone, but they're especially active in people with anxiety and depression. These aren't character flaws. They're mental shortcuts your brain developed to protect you, often in response to difficult prior experiences. The problem is they prioritize speed and emotional safety over accuracy. Learn these 10 distortions. You'll reference them throughout this workbook. 1. All or nothing thinking. You see things in black and white categories. If something isn't perfect, it's a failure. Example, I made one mistake in my presentation, so the whole thing was a disaster. 2. Overgeneralization. One negative event becomes proof that everything will go wrong. I was rejected once. Therefore, I'll always be rejected. 3. Mental filtering. You focus only on negative details while ignoring positives. Example, I got one critical comment on my report, so the entire thing must have been terrible, ignoring the 10 positive comments. 4. Catastrophizing. You imagine the worst-case scenario and treat it as inevitable. Example, if I make a mistake at work, I'll get fired and never find another job. 5. Magnification and minimization. You blow mistakes out of proportion and shrink your achievements. Example, that compliment doesn't matter, but my one mistake ruined everything. 6. Personalization. You blame yourself for things outside your control. Example, my mom seems upset. It must be my fault. 7. Mind reading. You assume you know what others are thinking, usually something negative about you. Example, they didn't reply to my text. They must be mad at me. 8. Fortune-telling. You predict negative outcomes as if you can see the future. Example, there's no point in applying. I won't get the job anyway. 9. Should statements. You criticize yourself or others with rigid rules about how things should be. Example, I should be over this by now. I shouldn't feel this way. 10. Emotional reasoning. You assume that because you feel something, it must be true. Example, I feel like a failure, so I must be one. You'll use this list throughout the workbook. During week 2, you'll learn to recognize these distortions immediately. During week 4, you'll practice challenging them by using evidence. Now, just observe the ones that are familiar. Case study. Nancy. Nancy, 25, came to therapy struggling with depression and anxiety. She worked as an editorial assistant and constantly felt like she was falling behind, especially on big projects. Her childhood shaped her thinking. Nancy's parents always put their own needs first. She learned early that prioritizing herself was selfish, so she overextended for others and ignored her own well-being. Her automatic thoughts: I must meet others' needs to be acceptable. If others are unhappy, it's my fault. These thoughts drove behaviors like saying yes to every request even when overwhelmed, procrastinating on her own work, feeling guilty, inadequate, and helpless. Can you spot the distortion? Nancy was using personalization. If others are unhappy, it's my fault, and should statements. I must meet others' needs. CBT helped Nancy identify and challenge these distorted thoughts. She learned to question whether her beliefs were accurate, and slowly her behavior shifted. Within weeks, she was noticing her patterns in real time and making different choices. Exercise 1. Thought Awareness Log. Time, 1 to 2 minutes per entry. This exercise trains you to notice your thoughts before they spiral. The goal isn't to change them yet, just to observe. 1. Set an intention. Decide to notice moments when your mood shifts: anxiety, irritation, sadness, numbness. Just notice. 2. Name the trigger. When you feel a change, pause and ask, what was happening right before? Example, email from my manager or text from Alex, no reply. 3. Write the thought. Capture the first sentence that comes to mind. Don't edit it. Example, I'll never get this right. 4. Rate the emotion, 0 to 100. Name the emotion and give it an intensity score. Example, anxiety, 75 out of 100. 5. Add distance. Optional. Say, I'm having the thought that, in front of what you captured. Notice if it feels different. 6. Note what you did next. Record your immediate reaction. Did you shut down? Check your phone obsessively? Avoid the task. 7. End of week reflection. After 5 to 7 entries, look for patterns, recurring triggers, repeated thoughts, or consistent behaviors. Exercise 2. Survival Reframe. Time, 10 to 15 minutes. This exercise helps you see unhelpful coping behaviors like people-pleasing, shutting down, or avoidance as strategies that once protected you. Understanding their origin lets you choose a new response now. 1. Name your coping behavior. Example, I say yes to everything to avoid conflict. Recall when it helped. When did this start protecting you? Example, when I was a kid and arguing led to punishment. 3. Describe the protection it offered. What did it keep you safe from? Fear? Rejection? Chaos? Criticism? 4. Notice the cost now. What does this pattern cost you today? Time? Exhaustion? Resentment? Missed opportunities? 5. Write a reframe sentence. This helped me by blank. This often gets in the way because blank. I can thank it for keeping me safe, and I can try a new small option blank. 6. Make a tiny experiment. Pick one micro-action you can try in the next 48 hours. 5 minutes or less. Example, I'll try saying, "Can I get back to you?" once this week. 7. Close with gratitude. Write one sentence thanking the part of you that protected you. Exercise 3. Self-compassion journaling. Time, 10 to 15 minutes. The goal of this exercise is to allow you to process a tough moment with compassion, not harshness. 1. Start with a warm opening. Write, "Dear," your name. "I'm writing because I've noticed I've been feeling blank." 2. Describe the moment factually, 1 to 2 sentences. Just the facts, no interpretation. "Today I got critical feedback at work and felt my chest tighten." 3. Ask gentle questions. What did that situation trigger in me? What thought popped up first? What did my body feel? 4. Reframe with kindness. Write 2 sentences you'd say to a close friend in the same situation. Example: "You did your best today. One piece of feedback doesn't define your value." 5. Name 1 small care step, something simple you can do in the next 24 hours. Walk for 10 minutes, text a friend, make a healthy snack. 6. Close with support. Example: "I'm here for you, and we'll try again tomorrow." Key takeaways. Your thoughts aren't flaws, they're learned patterns. And patterns can be changed. This week, you learned thoughts drive emotions, and emotions drive behavior. Understanding this cycle is the foundation of CBT and the key to interrupting patterns that keep you stuck. Your brain defaults to autopilot for efficiency. That's helpful for routine tasks, but harmful when autopilot involves avoidance, self-criticism, or catastrophizing. Awareness breaks the cycle. You can't change a pattern you don't notice. The pause between trigger and reaction is where the choice lives. Cognitive distortions are predictable. Once you learn the 10 thinking traps, you'll start spotting them everywhere, in your own mind and in the world around you. Preview. Week 2. Challenging thoughts. You can now recognize your automatic thoughts and name the distortions driving them. But noticing isn't enough. In Week 2, you'll learn to challenge these thoughts, testing whether they're accurate and replacing distorted patterns with balanced alternatives. You'll build the skill of questioning your inner narrator instead of believing it automatically. Because the goal isn't to silence your thoughts, it's stopping being controlled by them. Your next step. You don't need to complete every exercise this week. Pick one and start today. Write 1 thought awareness log entry. Identify 1 cognitive distortion from the list that sounds familiar. Try the survival reframe on 1 coping behavior you'd like to change. That's it. 1 small action. Because change doesn't happen when you feel ready. It happens when you start. Skills that helped us survive in the past may interfere with growth in the present. Christine A. Podesky, Ph.D., clinical psychologist.